Al-Moallem stresses during his meeting with the head of the Red Cross National Committee that humanitarian aid should not be politicized. Ein Al-Arab residents inflict heavy losses upon ISIL terrorist group and cut off its supply roads. Iraqi forces continue to make progress in different areas, killing dozens of ISIL terrorists. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Irado Krikorian from the News Center in Damascus. Deputy Prime Minister, Foreign and Expatriates Minister Al-Moallem today discussed with the chairman of the Red Cross International Committee, Peter Morer, cooperation between Syria and the committee. Mr. Morer expressed satisfaction over the ongoing cooperation between Syria, his organization, and the Syrian Arab Red Crescent, and the facilities it presents to ensure the delivery of assistance to those who need it. He underlined the importance of enhancing cooperation in the domain of the international humanitarian law. On his part, Mr. Al-Moallem expressed Syria's appreciation for the efforts exerted by the International Red Cross organization and the assistance it presents to it in a bid to overcome the difficulties the country is facing and for its solid cooperation with the Syrian Arab Red Crescent. The Foreign and Expatriates Minister highlighted the importance of keeping humanitarian organizations away from politicization. He welcomed the ideas presented by the chairman of the Red Cross International Committee. Deputy Foreign and Expatriates Minister Dr. Faisal Maqdad had held a session of talks with Morer on the close cooperation between Syria, the Red Cross and the Syrian Arab Red Crescent organization. Morer expressed appreciation for the efforts exerted by Syria in cooperation with his organization to face up to current challenges and the importance of implementing joint programs in the field of humanitarian work. Dr. Maqdad talked about the foreign intervention by certain states in order to flare up the crisis in the country, which would ultimately increase the burdens of the international humanitarian organizations. He affirmed the non-politicization of the organizations that provide humanitarian assistance. Syrian Arab units have eliminated a number of terrorists, wounded others and destroyed their equipment in the town of Nawa in Daraa countryside. In Idleb suburb, a number of terrorists were killed or wounded in Abu Duhur and the villages of Al-Buwaiti and Qara al-Ghazal. The residents of the Syrian town of Ein Al-Arab have made a new achievement in their fight against the terrorists of the so-called Islamic State, cutting one of the main supply roads militants used to the southeast. This comes as Kurdish People's Protection Units are launching qualitative strikes against ISIL positions, inflicting heavy losses on them. Fierce clashes are taking place in several parts of Ein Al-Arab town and its vicinity amid advancements by Kurdish fighters in southern and eastern parts of the town. This comes after the People's Protection Units took control of Mashtan-Nur strategic hill, advancing more towards Turkish borders and blocking more supply lines for terrorists from the direction of Turkey. Russian Deputy Foreign Minister, Russian President's envoy to the Middle East, Mikhail Bogdanov, has affirmed his country's support for the resumption of inter-Syrian dialogue to find a solution to the crisis. He stressed that combating terrorism without a UN Security Council's authorization may lead to catastrophic results. During his talks with the Chinese envoy to the Middle East, Kong Xiaoxing, Bogdanov said the two sides have voiced intention to closely cooperate regarding Mideastern issues at a bilateral level and on international arenas. According to a statement by the Russian Foreign Ministry, the talks between the two sides also centered on the development of the situation in Syria and Iraq and the threats posed by the terrorist ISIL organization, in addition to the Israeli escalation in occupied Palestine. Iranian President Hassan Rohani has stressed that extremism and terrorism represent immense problems that should be confronted and eliminated in order for moderation, peace and friendship to prevail in the region. During a press conference with his Azeri counterpart Ilham Aliyev at the conclusion of their talks in the capital Baku, Rohani emphasized his country's keenness to see peace and stability established in the region. He pointed out that Iran and Azerbaijan wish to cooperate to preserve the security and stability of the area. In Iraq, the army took control of Bari village west of Sinjar province, expelling ISIL terrorists out and inflicting heavy losses upon them. The Iraqi army has already defeated ISIL terrorists in Sayyidat al-Azam and 9 other villages in Diyala province, as Iraqi fighter jets destroyed ISIL hideouts, killing more than 147 terrorists.
The Iraqi army has been able to clear 10 villages in and around Al-Shira' al-Abyad district during 2 military preventive operations launched against the terrorists' hideouts and incubators east of Diyala and west of Al-Anbar. The operation left 45 terrorists dead and 23 cars and 4 armored vehicles destroyed. On its part, the Iraqi Defense Ministry announced in a statement the death of 20 terrorists killed during an Iraqi airstrike in Al-Baj province near the Syrian borders. The statement added that the strike also resulted in burning 14 machine-gun-loaded cars. The Iraqi Air Force has meanwhile killed 40 armed men and burnt 8 vehicles in raids that targeted ISIL gatherings in Al-Ramadi. The Iraqi army also eliminated 19 ISIL terrorists, including their leader in Beji, in a military operation in Tikrit. 12 other terrorists were moreover killed, including ISIL leader in Al-Fallujah and his assistant.
In occupied Palestine, 4 citizens were wounded by Israeli fire during fierce clashes with the occupation soldiers in Nablus. Palestinian sources said that occupation soldiers broke into a refugee camp east of the city and opened fire and tear gas on Palestinian citizens, causing several injuries and suffocation cases. Israeli soldiers broke into several houses in occupied Jerusalem and arrested 5 citizens, including a girl. An official source in Egypt announced that 5 Egyptian soldiers were killed in 2 separate attacks in Sinai, northeast of the country. Meanwhile, the Egyptian army lost contact with 8 army personnel during the counter-terrorism military operations launched by the Egyptian army against terrorists near Dumyat coast. A search and rescue mission started and led to the destruction of 4 boats used by terrorists and the arrest of 32 terrorists. The mission also led to freeing 5 Egyptian Navy Force personnel, while 8 others remain missing. On the other hand, 16 people were injured because of a bomb blast inside a train near the metro train station of Halim al-Zaytoun in Cairo. In Libya, 2 car bombs targeted the embassies of Egypt and the UAE, causing great material damage. Instead, 5 explosions rocked the city, creating lines of smoke, causing panic among the people. Fighter jets were also noticed in parallel. Finally, and in our local news, upon an invitation by the Arab Writers' Union in Damascus and in cooperation with the Syrian Union for Plastic Arts and the Syrian Ladies Society, a festivity was held to honor the wounded soldiers of the Syrian Arab Army.
A number of artists, writers and journalists attended the festivity honoring the wounded soldiers of the Syrian Arab Army, during which symbolic gifts and certificates were distributed, glorifying the sacrifices of the Syrian Arab Army in the battle against terrorism. The participants delivered speeches highlighting the sacrifices of the Syrian Arab Army.
I do believe that such activity is very important for the people, for the army, and for everybody on this earth, because this activity means that we are holding a great slogan to high moral of our people. This is very important and very necessary from time to time, because we are facing a very fierce invasion, so we have to be one hand, shoulder to shoulder, to face this invasion.
I'm so happy today to take part in this festival in honor of the wounded Syrian soldiers. The Syrian women proved that they were committed to their homeland, showing limitless love and devotion to the sons and daughters of this country who are defending every single inch of land against terrorism.
The exhibition is a very distinguished event because it stresses the need for defending a country which is bleeding now. All artists and writers are invited to take part. It is always important to honor the wounded Syrian soldiers who are defending the homeland against vicious terrorism and protecting the national borders against enemies.
By the end of the festivity, an art exhibition including a number of photographs and oil paintings was put on display, touching a number of important themes.
With this, we conclude our news for today. Thank you for watching. For more details about Syria and the region and to view this bulletin again, you can always visit our website in English, syriaonline.sy. Now to latest business and market news with Karun Kürkcan, but after a short break.